Hey guys and girls. Can't believe that there's so many people with nothing else to do but wait for me. Bizarre. Welcome back to the spare room. Nothing really to report. Nothing at all. I'm going to drop this camera down a bit. We'll try that. We'll get some lights. So, hey Chirpy. Hey Adam. Hey Jim. Hey Duncan. I don't know if there's much to report, and it's going to be a pretty quick stream, I think, because I'm about had enough, and I'm working 8 days straight from now on, I think, or from this point to the day I have a day off. But we did a bit this last weekend. Somehow this slot managed to be more than ½ inch. That's one of life's little mysteries. How a ½ inch slot drill produces a 9/16 cut. No idea about that. But it doesn't matter. There's still plenty of meat there. I don't know whether I'm going to case harden this part, or whether I'm just going to blue it, or whether I'm just going to leave it silver, or whether I'm just going to polish it up. I don't know yet. I've got to make a bolt like this because this one isn't long enough. And I've got to make a little dog bone piece to go on the end of that bolt to hold the tool in place out of probably 1/8 gauge plate, something like that. Got some W1 and I might harden it up. That you push in sideways and turn round, and that's got pieces out each end to locate it. So that's a bit of a job. So we're getting there. I've got this, I've been meaning to ask, I've got this tool cutter, a tool holder here. It takes a little square insert that's probably 7 degrees, something like that. If you can focus that. Went Sons. The insert is SQT122. If anyone knows anything about that, or what it might be, I'd love some inserts for it. It's a pretty good tool. So anyone who knows, drop me a message. Leave a comment. I went and saw my friend John Pettit in Brisbane on the weekend, and we cut the slot in that clapper. We also made this plate, which has dovetails. I don't know if you can see that. The 60-degree dovetails here, here, and here. So there's two slots right through the 60-degree dovetail, and they fit his Gravigraph letters beautifully. Now, message Gravigraph, and they're here in Australia, and a new set of letters is $270, something like that, which is really cheap, actually. A lot cheaper than I sort of expected. So whether that's a possibility, but Nerdboy on Instagram, dropped me a message and said he had some letters, bigger letters, and I sort of said, well, maybe we can copy them. But they look like Gravigraph letters, and they look exactly like John's, except they're not. So it's a bit of a disappointment, and we'll have to make up a jig to fix them. But these don't go in this slot. They're about the probably 0.5 millimetre, 25 thou or something too big. Which is really bizarre. But there's about 3 sets of letters there, so that's a bit of a score. I think I'm going to make a jig up to either trim them down in the shaper or in the mill, or just even file them if I made something hard to clamp them at 60 degrees and do that. So that's a job for soon. Don't know when, but we'll make all them fit. I think there's a wide set and a narrow set of letters, or a condensed set, and a mirror set, and there's a lot of symbols and a lot of cool odd characters and things. So they're a bit of a score, and I want to say thanks, because that's an awesome present. These 2 little blocks, they go on the underside. If we set this up, I'm not going to get the engraver over here again, but this has dovetails that go on the base of the engraver. These blocks are going to be the same with dovetails, but they're going to be a little bit shorter, so this will still slip in underneath, but they go on here the same as the others eventually, and that means that the 2 of them can be moved in relation to each other. I'll put these on with 2 1032 screws, the same as the other one, keep it all uniform. But that's starting to look like it might work, and without a lot more effort, so I'm really pleased about that. Hey Max. Hey JB. I'm not going to die file them, promise. Hey Drew. So there's sort of the jobs that we've been that I did on the weekend. Also got some bits of aluminium cut to make this pulley for the milling machine. That's an ongoing project too. We'll get to that at some point. Monday I messed around and put a new bush in this. I also drilled and tapped this hole in the top for a grub screw to hold this bush in place, which I think was about where I come unstuck last time I was working on it. I bought a long series drill. Which is a 5mm drill. And drilling it was easy, but tapping it real close here was a bit of a challenge. And anyway, we've got a nice straight grub screw in there, I hope. And one in here, and that should hold that nicely. And we've got new bushes in here. So I'm pretty pleased about that. I'm happy with that. Next job's a pin and find a piece of 7/16 stuff to go through here to make bushes for. Like Chirpy says, there's not a lot of work in it, but just getting to do it. So that's the update on that project. Been using Bruce's Secret Santa hammer, which has traces of pink paint on it, which is pretty cool. Check out Bruce Witham's channel, and Marcus, check out JB from Oz's channel too. I believe there's a box full of things that are probably painted pink. Hey, you've got to send me an email with your address. It's easy as that, Drew. Just sent one to Chirpy. So send me an email. I've got them here. I'll forward one. No worries at all. And if I've got some other spares, I'll put them in with them too. So excited to see that box in Western Australia already. I know there's one thing in particular that I've been hanging out for. It'll turn up eventually. But that's in that box. I don't know what else is, and I'm sure there's plenty of that pink paint. I've also made a start. Anyone who's a Patreon subscriber and thinks I've forgotten them, I haven't. I've made a start on a safety valve for this traction engine and some other bits and pieces. There'll be a video up very soon. I haven't had time to do anything really since I got back. I've just been back into work, and that sucks a bit because I'd like to have this finished by now, and a dozen other projects too. Another thing, this is a Lorch 2 series collet, 12.5 millimeters. This particular one used to be 3 millimeters. Yep, that'll do us. That'll do nicely. I'll drop the email down here in this particular video. I've been doing that. There's also a Gmail account sort of with a similar address, and I've been using that a bit for this channel, so I'll drop that in the description box anyway. This is a Lorch, and check my battery level, got heaps. A Lorch collet. It's an almost dead one actually. Yeah, I did try, but I don't always remember, Chirpy. If anyone knows where there is some of these, they're 12.5 millimeters diameter. And according to this completely worn out rule, they're about 100 millimeters long, and they're 11.5 by 1 on the end. And they're about 25 degrees or something taper. Anyone sees any for sale? Let me know, because I need some. I'm probably going to have a go at making some. I've made collets for a watchmaker's lathe before without too many problems, and it is doable. And to do it accurately with fairly basic equipment, there's a way to do it. So maybe I'll make some, and certainly make some chuck arbors to use to fit a. Hey Cam, you can make them for sure. Basically turn them between centers and put a thread on them and clean them all up, and then put them in the lathe and drill them and ream them and slit them afterwards, and you've got a pretty usable collet. But there's a bit of work in them, and at the moment I'd hoped to have thread cutting on my lathe first, but it hasn't happened. There's no material storage. Yeah, don't get me started on that. I have a space between the cupboard and the wall for sheets. Have a look at Stefan's workshop organisational videos. Stefan Gottswinter, he's got some good videos on storing material. He's really good. If you don't follow Stefan, you probably should. I'm sure everyone who's watching this does. But he had some really good videos on a rack for sheet metal, which I sort of intend to copy one day, and a rack for bar stock. Most of my bar stock that I need to keep track of tends to be sort of like this: 16th, 332 and 8th silver steel, or W1. And occasionally there's a length of something like this. And there's a fair bit of sheet like this. It tends to get tossed in under the bench, and it's not really the answer. I need to make a decent bar rack at some point, and it's going over under the milling machine, but it hasn't happened yet. It's, yeah, material storage is a real pain, as you know. I went to the markets and bought some LED strip lights for $5 each. They're magnetic. And when I get the mill wired up, I'm going to put just the same as I've got for the lathe. I've just got a 12-volt transformer in underneath, and that runs all the lighting. So they should be really good. I'm pleased to have got them. So that's another update. That's progress. I'm sorry I cut out last time. I don't know why that happened. We just sort of suddenly dropped at the end of the stream, and it's almost impossible to get it back from here. But you live with that, so it's a bit of a nuisance. I haven't given this little engine a run for a while. This is the Myford Boy engine I built. A few challenges in it. Herb Blair's got one half made, and he had some issues with, I think he was probably just overthinking this. He had some issues with linkage lengths and things. Once I got in and did it, I discovered it really wasn't a big deal, and it's quite nicely designed. It's got slipper-centric valve gear, so it runs forward and backwards. This is a pretty little engine, really. It's probably time it had a run. Could do with a clean. Excuse my little air compressor. But this is probably going to be one of the engines that Eugene runs when I get that boiler finished. This little engine should tick over nicely on, look, with a bit of rubber hose you can nearly run it on breath pressure. It really ticks over pretty nice. I'd hope to run it on an aquarium pump like Myford Boy does. But it's an aquarium pump's about half breath pressure, and it's a big ask of any engine. Yeah, I bought the castings off Myford Boy. They're really pretty nice. There was a hard spot in this zinc flywheel, which is why it wobbles. It's inexcusable, but without machining it down and putting another rim on it, it was almost impossible to get that wobble out, so I didn't bother in the end. At some point I should buy another flywheel off him and fix it. The trouble is with PVC pipe chirpy is that all the short bits end up down the end of it, so I'm not thoroughly convinced that's the answer. Don't know what the answer is. But yeah, they're Myford Boy engine castings, and that's a nice project if you want a bit of a challenge. It's a bit much air there. The body's just in ordinary aluminium. Just the flywheel was zinc. It's quite heavy flywheel, and the rest just bar stock. That might be a good idea. You could even put ends in it. We could 3D print some ends. Maybe someone could do a file and we could print them. So that's that Myford Boy casting, a nice core in it. It's nicely finished. It's got Fairfix engines on the body there, cast in nicely, and it's got slipper-centric valve gear there. So interesting build. And now it's running. It runs on next to no pressure. This engine was the first engine series that I built. That's quite some time ago. This is a nice little engine actually. It runs like a dream. It's got some timing experimentation happening with it, so it doesn't run particularly quick, which is nice for a wobbler. I had a mess with it, and the timing ports are... yeah, there's some secret squirrel business going on in there. But that's a fairly nice little engine. This is Steve's model engine. The drawings are available online. It has a few modifications. I put a taper on here to hold the flywheel on, and a couple of other things. But it'd make a nice engine for a boat or something. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of power with the timing modifications that I made, but it does run at a fairly decent sort of a sensible speed. Yeah, the poor hose has just been chopped off the end. It's an air compressor hose that's been chopped off. So it's a fairly nice little engine actually. If someone's looking for a wobbler to build, that's very forgiving. This has been dropped this week. Hey, Scott. Yeah, that's right, JB. Hey, what a great idea, Drew. I might just do that. This engine's a challenge. If you want a workshop challenge, this is a Mr. Pete engine. I built this one. I know a lot of people who attempted to build this one and didn't get very far with it. But this is his No Machine Tools engine. It needs a drill press and some hand tools. It's pretty good fun. And at the moment it doesn't have a pipe on it, but we'll see if we can get it to run. We might have to epoxy that because I think the screws have come loose here. It might need some adjustment, maybe next week. This is all just washers and basic hardware. I did have it running pretty nice, but I think it needs a little bit of work. Probably some oil wouldn't hurt. Hey, Raymond. Yeah, if I had somewhere to buy stock, I'd have too much of it. I might have to give this a bit of a clean up. It did get knocked off the shelf this last week, which is why I thought of it. But the bearings aren't real good. Might give it a bit of a clean up and see if I can give it a run next week. But if you're looking for a challenge, this is the one to build. Yeah, scrap bins are the way to go, and there's a place down the street has some scrap bins, and if you've got a carton on Saturday morning when you're going past, it's a good idea to call in because they do have stuff. But it's mostly bigger stuff than I can ever use, so that's sort of a mixed blessing, really. Yeah, recycling centres don't really work like that. Here, there's too much OH&S to be able to scramble around inside them. And you end up with a lot of stuff you really don't need. I have to be careful of that. I'm better off to put the spare cash I got into new nuts and bolts or major components, things like that, and buy the little bit of stock I need, because that way I don't end up with a lot of bits and pieces that I'm never ever going to use. That's a bit of a problem here. Have a look at those window weights. They might need some time in the fire, because quite often they're chilled a bit quick and they're hard on the outside and you can't machine them. That's a lesson I learnt the hard way. Oh, Raymond, that's a deal, as long as you know what they are. But bar ends at any material supplier, quite often they have them for a beer fund, and you can do pretty good there. Yeah, that's right, Drew. I have stock set aside everywhere. I have projects, and I seem to have more projects than I did have. So it's, yeah, I think there's about 6 projects going here on the workbench at the moment. I need to make some of these. This is a spacer for the inch arbor on the horizontal mill. And the reason I've made a new clapper box really is to make these. So at some point, that's something that's going to happen. There's only 6 here on the bench, Adam. There's those 2 little engines, the 2 little low gauge engines. There's that traction engine. There's the engraving machine. There's the, what are we up to? 1, 2. There's the clapper box is nearly finished. There's the power feed. That's 4. There's the filing machine. That's 5. And there's another boiler there, Eugene. That's 6. We're going to call it 6. So I'm not convinced there's only 6, but anyway. Ha! Do you have drawings, Chirpy? Do I need to send them? If you've got a set of drawings, well and good. But if you don't, I have a set. I'm happy to distribute them. So I'm good at aiding and abetting. If you need a set of drawings, just yell out, my email address. Happy to send them. It's the same goes for, yeah, most projects you can think of. I have drawings, so if you ask me, I'm happy to send them. My workspace, Scott, is what you can see here. So the shape is here, right here. We've got a little bit, about as much around the corner here, but at the moment there's junk everywhere. There's projects there's another project I'm doing as a gift, which I can't really show you on camera or on social media. So that's something else that's happening, and I haven't said much to anyone about that, but that's not officially. Oh yeah, there's an oval chuck for a launch there too. There's lips chuck. That might happen one day. That's 7. But yeah, there is another project that I'm working on that I can't show anyone, and I will do a video about it, and you might see that written up in a magazine, but it's going to be finished this week. I'm really pleased about that. So that's kind of all I've got to show you tonight. I am working 7 days. Oh, there's another project too. I've got a woodworking project there, a box for my cast iron surface plate. That's something that gets a little bit more love than I really show people. It's getting there. It's coming together. And we thank JB from Oz for that. But I haven't forgotten. It's just happening. Yeah, if you want a project, just sing out. I'm happy to. Scott, you should build this little traction engine. Scott and Tara should build this. Pretty fun little project. You'll learn a lot. You've come out of the other side of this traction engine, and you're going to discover that you're pretty much done your apprenticeship. You're ready to make anything. There's everything you could possibly imagine. Every skill in metal workshop is in this traction engine. It's an awesome project. Hit me up for some details on it. I haven't heard from Crispin. I believe that he's repairing Land Rovers and doing some archery and stuff like that young guys probably should do. So I honestly haven't seen him. I'd love to make a couple of these at some point. A few YouTubers have made them. This is an Eagle, a 58, the little one, not a 55 or. It's only the little one. It's only about 3 inches high. It's a very simple thing, and there's some sheet metal work in it and some fabrication work and some machine work. Might be a project one day. I've been thinking about it, but we'll get some of the other 7 or whatever it is out of the way, or 8 or however many it is at some point. These castings I'm really pleased with. The castings on the traction engine, they're really nice. This is actually something I'm doing for Patreon, and it's nearly finished, actually. It's... Oh, score, Scott. Score. Yeah, Greg Halligan made one. So this is a pretty cool project. I might have to swap. Chirpy and I have been talking about doing I probably shouldn't even say this, but we've been talking about doing a collab project. So subscribe to his channel. Go over and do it. If you haven't done it already, go and do it. Chirpy's Tinkering does some awesome stuff. Some pretty cool projects. Hey, Tom. Hi from the Gold Coast. It's cold and miserable here. Go and check out Chirpy's channel. I think there's something going down there. I can't give you a timeline. We've got to get some other projects finished first, and he's probably ready to go, and I'm not. But the minute we talk about it, and it's ready to go, it will be. That's all very cryptic, but it's kind of going to be a fun project, I promise. Who else can I've got some new stickers to go up on the sticker board. They haven't happened yet. I need to do some restructuring on my sticker board. Scott's stickers there. Go and check out Scott's channel. That's one of the... Yeah, that's one of the boilers I've made. This has got a little copper boiler in it, Scott. There's another 2 engines there that have got boilers in them too, and there's another fairly major boiler project there. I procured some plans, and I'm not going to talk about that yet. There was plans for an O-gauge locomotive that turned up, and I'm not going to talk about that. By about the end of the year, I'll be happy to talk about that. I'm not taking on any more projects at the moment. I've got to get at least this finished, and those two little locomotives finished. I've got to get this shaper back operational again, which is there. And I've got to get the mill up and running because I need a milling machine. So, yeah, it's all kind of happening. Oh, awesome, Chirpy. Excited about that. Mr. Pete's hard to get hold of. But I have built a couple of his engines, and he does some cool stuff. So I'll probably build some more before we're finished. He's just got to live long enough to get to the bash next year. Anyway, I think I'm going to call that a day. I've got things to do here. I've got a little project that I'm halfway through that I need to finish tonight so that I'm up to schedule. And I've got work tomorrow for 12 hours, and then also Friday, Saturday, Sunday, probably Monday and Tuesday. So life's pretty crazy. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Be kind to each other. More soon. And Jeffy's got it in one. More soon. Be kind to each other and keep watching. My email's down in the description, or it will be if you come back soon. And also my Patreon account if you want to have a good look at this little traction engine. But that'll be on YouTube before very long at all. Awesome, guys. We'll see ya.